संदीप जी, आपकी गेम चेंजिंग फिल्म आप किसको मानते हैं?
A game-changing film for me is Arjun Reddy, ever.
A filmmaker's first movie often serves as a definitive statement, laying bare their thematic obsessions and stylistic signature. For some, it's a confident entrance. For others, it's a chaotic storm. This is arguably nowhere more true than for Arjun Reddy. This 2017 Telugu film not only introduced a director but also unleashed a polarizing new voice onto Indian cinema, one defined by intensity, controversy, and character above all else. Arjun Reddy not only defined Sandeep Reddy Vanga's career but also instantly carved out a space for raw, unflinching narratives in the commercial space, launching a new kind of star in the process.
I'm not a rebel without a cause, sir. Nor a murderer with a handplate.
And while it may be difficult to emulate the magic of Arjun Reddy, there are 7 invaluable lessons any filmmaker can take from how he approached his directorial debut.
मैं ये फिल्म बनाता हूँ, आपको नहीं समझ में आती है, ठीक है, टाटा गुड बाय.
Yeah, sir, yeah. Conviction should be there for any director.
Welcome to the first episode of Debut Films, the Director's Playbook, featuring Sandeep Reddy Vanga's Arjun Reddy.
అందరు వెయిటింగ్ అక్కడ పోదంపా.
Sandeep Reddy Vanga's directorial and writing debut was produced on a minuscule budget, reportedly around 4 to 5 crores. Released in August 2017, the film quickly became a genuine sensation, a cultural talking point that dominated water cooler conversations across the country. It went on to gross over 50 crores globally, a massive return on investment that shocked the trade. The film's success ushered in a new style of filmmaking characterized by morally grey protagonists, unconventional pacing, and raw, dialogue-driven emotional confrontations. And to bring that primal energy onto the screen, Sandeep had to embrace the concept of the anti-hero. The first decision any debut director makes is choosing their protagonist, and that choice ultimately dictates the emotional contract they make with the audience. For Sandeep, the decision to center his first feature on Dr. Arjun Reddy wasn't just a choice, it was an act of cinematic rebellion that proved to be profoundly profitable. Arjun Reddy is introduced not as a leading man but as a force of nature. He's a brilliant medical topper with talent, comes from a wealthy family, and has an absolute lack of self-control. We see him as manipulative, possessive, and prone to violent, self-destructive outbursts. This persona immediately shatters several unspoken rules of commercial Indian cinema. Vanga made a deliberate decision to reject the good man trope. Arjun is not a hero to be worshipped. He's a psychological entity to be observed. The core lesson here is a commitment to realism over likability. The audience isn't asked to cheer for Arjun's behavior, they are asked to endure his devastating journey. Vanga doubled down on showing the brutal, ugly consequences of the character's choices, losing his medical license, alienating his supporting family, and collapsing into crushing addiction. His deep personal flaws are strategically the very engine of the drama, turning a simple romance into a messy, polarizing character study. This brings us to the power of uncompromised vision, where Vanga's mastery lies not just in creating a morally ambiguous character, but in his unwavering refusal to soften those edges. He never provided a convenient trauma or a neat backstory to explain away Arjun's volatility. His anger is simply an inherent part of his being, and Vanga uses this intensity as the story's core conflict. The entire filmmaking apparatus, from the extreme close-ups to the dramatic score, is designed to act as a narrative shield. It immerses the viewer so deeply into Arjun's perspective, his passion, his pain, his self-pity, that we feel complicit in his spiral. We are forced to experience his crisis firsthand, making it an emotional event rather than a detached moral judgment. Vanga's bold command to the audience was clear: abandon conventional moral judgment and feel this story.
Any one thing that is non-negotiable for you when you are making a film?
Casting.
Which brings us to the next lesson: casting for chemistry and not the star power. Arjun Reddy was originally written with Allu Arjun in mind, aiming to mirror the character's overwhelming arrogance and crushing vulnerability.
और अगर अर्जुन रेड्डी आपके दिमाग पे विजयी था या फिर किसी और को सोच के बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे थे?
I used to see Allu Arjun in that when I was writing throughout the process. So I wanted to narrate him. मतलब हुआ नहीं.
The role ultimately went to Vijay Deverakonda, an actor who was still rising but hadn't yet been cemented as a commercial hero. And this choice gave the project an essential sense of rawness and immediacy. Crucially, the real power came from the chemistry he found with the female lead, Shalini Pandey. The narrative demands that the audience believe in an intense, obsessive connection strong enough to destroy a man's life. Vanga's genius was in prioritizing this unconventional pairing for its raw, immediate chemistry over typical commercial appeal. By casting for authentic, fiery on-screen chemistry rather than established box office power, Vanga ensured that the love story, the foundation for all the subsequent chaos, felt instantly believable and catastrophic. If Lesson 1 defined the character and Lesson 2 delivered the required performance, Lesson 3 is about shattering the structural rules of commercial cinema. Vanga's Arjun Reddy famously clocked in just over 3 hours. In an industry obsessed with fast cuts and tight runtimes, this was a radical risk. Crucially, this extreme length was not a mistake, it was a deliberate narrative strategy. Vanga treated the entire film as a grand character arc, prioritizing immersion and emotional weight over brisk pacing. The key structural violation occurs in the first act. Vanga spends nearly an entire hour meticulously establishing the intense, all-consuming college romance between Arjun and Preeti. Most commercial films would compress this into a montage or a brisk 20 minutes to jump straight to the conflict. By refusing to rush, Vanga forces the audience to live in the euphoria and complexity of their early relationship. This dedication to the slow burn first act pays massive dividends later. When the inevitable breakup occurs and Arjun begins his destructive spiral, the audience doesn't just intellectually understand his pain, they have spent an hour being emotionally invested in the paradise he's losing. This makes his subsequent suffering, his descent into alcoholism and self-pity feel entirely earned, devastating, and critically justifies the film's extreme runtime. Vanga demonstrated that for a debut film with a powerful singular vision, conventional rules of pacing and length can be disregarded. If the emotional payoff is profound enough, the audience will stay for the duration. The runtime became not a liability but a testament to the uncompromising scale of the film's emotional ambition.
రే అమిత్ నాకు ఆ పిల్ల అంటే చాలా ఇష్టం రా ఆ పిల్లకేమనైతే ఐ విల్ బి మోస్ట్ ఎఫెక్టెడ్ అండర్స్టాండ్.
But even with a compelling character, perfect casting and a bold structure, Arjun Reddy was a guaranteed source of controversy. How did Sandeep Reddy Vanga navigate the storm of criticism that threatened to derail his debut? The simple answer is that the film's success wasn't just about what was in the script. It was about the director's defined stance outside of it. This is the lesson of owning the controversy. Vanga never backed down from the divisive nature of his protagonist. He neither issued apologies nor attempted to recontextualize the film as a moral warning. Instead, he treated the film as a work of art dedicated to raw human emotion, regardless of how messy or uncomfortable that emotion was. This unwavering confidence in complexity was the final seal of artistic control. In the face of intense backlash from critics and media, Vanga's steadfast refusal to compromise or dilute his message acted as a powerful promotion. It told the audience, this film is exactly what the director intended it to be.
Sandeep is a very, very original filmmaker. What he feels, what the kind of heat which comes out onto the frame.
This bravado proved crucial, especially as the film became a box office phenomenon, showing that strong conviction can override cautious market demands. For any debut filmmaker, Vanga provides a crucial blueprint. If your vision is singular and unique, the best strategy is not seeking permission or consensus. It is simply taking destiny into your own hands, making the film exactly as you see it, and allowing the resulting conversation, no matter how heated, to fuel the film's reputation. But owning the controversy is only half the battle. Once the audience was seated, Vanga had to justify the film's sheer intensity and 3-hour length through purely cinematic means. How do you keep the audience locked into one man's internal hell? You deny them distance.
And this is how you treat me? I'm a bloody surgeon. Yan kaltinai, sadid tirgunayakta.
The fifth lesson is found in the film's relentless visual strategy. Use close-ups for intimacy and intensity. Arjun Reddy is fundamentally a chamber drama of the mind, with many long scenes of dialogue, confrontation, or solitary brooding. Vanga, however, understood that to capture Arjun's volatile state, the camera had to mirror his mind. It had to be suffocatingly close. He rarely retreats to the safety of a wide master shot. Instead, the camera pushes in, capturing the smallest tremors of Vijay's performance, the vein popping in his neck, the slight twitch of his lips, the reddening of his eyes. This is not just framing, it's a commitment to psychological proximity. In scenes of extreme anger, the camera is unstable and frantic. In scenes of quiet despair, it holds static and unforgiving. This diversification of the visual language ensures that even when Arjun is doing nothing but staring into a mirror or sitting alone, the scene remains dynamically charged. It's a technique that forces the audience to feel the high-stakes pressure of his internal chaos, transforming a simple room into the arena for his self-destruction. The camera captures the chaos, but the real force driving the emotional engine of Arjun Reddy is sound, which acts as an emotional amplifier. Arjun Reddy rejected the predictable orchestral score often associated with grand romantic dramas. Instead, the film delivered a modern, often rock-influenced sound that felt as volatile as its protagonist. The genius of the music lies in its ability to both elevate the mood and then brutally undercut it. In the scenes of their college euphoria, songs like Madhurame convey the intense, overwhelming sweetness of first love. But when Arjun descends into addiction, the background score transforms, becoming chaotic, aggressive, and almost industrial. It doesn't just underscore sadness, it embodies the violent, self-destructive nature of his grief. This music forces the audience to experience his rage and pain viscerally. The strategic use of pop culture tracks
Nana, my favorite song.
and modern compositions to achieve maximum impact, similar to how Tarantino utilized familiar pop songs in Reservoir Dogs, created an ironic contrast that underlined the story's urban rebellious feel. From a joyful kiss to a drunken crash, every emotional event is amplified to catastrophic proportions, confirming Vanga's belief that every cinematic element must contribute to the emotional experience of the main character.
I listen to a lot of music. I can't imagine myself without music. Even I can't write a scene without music and sound at least.
If the score was the heart, then the production was the foundation, and this final lesson is perhaps the most practical and inspiring for any aspiring debut director.
It is very tough to get a producer onto this film because it's hard to make them believe with whatever range of narration you give to them, because somewhere it is out of their belief pattern. So my brother and my father came like a saviors.
The key question remains, why didn't other producers touch this project? The answer is simple. They feared the script's uncompromising themes. The length, the volatile lead, the substance abuse, all of which were considered too risky for a commercial debut. In the end, the only producers willing to bet on the movie were the Vanga family itself. The family reportedly had to sell ancestral land to raise the movie's budget of 4 to 5 crores. This is the ultimate lesson in conviction. When the industry says no and your project is deemed too radical for the market, the only way forward may be to fund your own freedom. Arjun Reddy reached theaters because of a personal, non-negotiable family belief in the director's vision, demonstrating that artistic integrity sometimes requires a literal leap of financial faith. As many filmmakers have learned, no one can successfully imitate Arjun Reddy, but we can all take these 7 core lessons from Sandeep Reddy Vanga's debut, no matter what kind of story we are trying to tell. Sandeep Reddy Vanga's Arjun Reddy is a masterclass in prioritizing conviction over compromise. It shows that sometimes the greatest success comes from simply taking destiny into your own hands and making the film exactly as you see it. And this wraps up our first episode of the debut films, the Director's Playbook series. 9 more exciting stories are in production, so please like, share and subscribe to stay up to date on all our videos. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.